Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaridhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaridhari. Yasodanandana Brajachana Ranjana Yasodanandana Brajachana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaridhari Jaya Gopi Jana Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaridhari Jasodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Sodanandana Jasodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivraj Kacharya Ashtotarita Srimad Abhay Charan Arvindam Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai ISKCON BBT Samstapakacharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Nama Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sikaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Shama Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Shri Mayapur Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Ganga Maya Jamuna Maya Ki Jai Shrimati Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Shrimati Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Samveda Bhaktivinda Ki Jai All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 64, the deliverance of King Nriga. Text number 12. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Yavat yasikata bhumir. Yavat yasikata bhumir. Yavat yodvihitarakai. Yavat yadvihitarakaha. Yavat yovashadarascha. Yavat yovashadarascha. Tavatir adadam smagaha. Tavatir adadam smagata. Yavat yasakata bhumir. Yavato dvihitarakaha. Tavatir adadam smagaha. Yavatya sikata bhumir. Yavatya dvihitarakaha. Yavatya vashadarascha. Tavatir edadam smagaha. Yavatya sikata bhumir. Yavatya dvihitarakaha. Yavatya vashadarascha. Tavatir adadam smagaha. Mataji. Yavatya sikata bhumir. Yavatya dvihitarakaha. Yavatya vashadarascha. Tavatir adadam smagaha. Yavatyaha. As many. Sikataha. Grains of sand. Bhumehe. Belonging to the earth. Yavatyaha. As many. Dvivi. In the sky. Tarakaha. Stars. Yavatyaha. As many. Varsha. Of rainfall. Daraha. Drops. Cha. And. Tavatihi. That many. Adadam. I gave. Smaha. Indeed. Gaha. Cows. Translation. I gave in charity as many cows as there are grains of sand on the earth, stars in the heavens, or drops in a rain shower. Purport. The idea here is that the king gave innumerable cows in charity. text number 13. Pasyas vinis tarunai shilarupa guno papana kapila hema shringihi nyarajita rupya kuraha savasta dukula mahalabharana dadhav aham. Translation: young, brown, milk-laden cows who are well behaved, beautiful, and endowed with good qualities, who were all acquired honestly, and who had gilded horns, silver-plated hooves, and decorations of fine ornamental cloths and garlands. Such were the cows, along with their calves, that I gave in charity. There's no purport. Keep reading. What's that? Yeah, I read 12 and 13, but the purport in 12 is, yeah, he gave a lot of cows. And 13, there is no purport. Keep going. Want to read some more verses? Huh? What's that? Oh, it's all planned. So everybody's been given a verse. Okay. Usually I like to stick to the purport. But as there is no purport here, I'm unguided. But anyway, try to think of something. So here in this case, we got King Nriga, and he's telling his story, as I understand, to Lord Krishna. And and the thing is that he used to give in charity to the Brahmins, right? The kings, they would do that. They'd collect so much wealth in the form of taxes, right? And in those days, wealth was considered not by paper money. Now, wealth is determined by paper money. What is money, Prabhupada said? It's a piece of paper, and it's printed with ink. It says $100 or 500 rupees, but its actual value is nothing. What's it cost? A few paisa? Not even 1 paisa. So, previously, a person's wealth was measured by how much he had animals and grains and animals. So if someone had a lot of cows and sufficient grains, they were considered wealthy. Nanda, the father of Krishna, was known as Nanda Maharaj. Some people say Nanda Baba, but Prabhupada never says Nanda Baba. Only in Vrindavan they say Nanda Baba because they're whatever. But Prabhupada says Nanda Maharaj. So why was he Maharaj? Because he was very wealthy. He was like a king there in Braj with so many cows. How many cows? 9 lakhs. You want to sit in the shade so your eyes are not. You like the sun? Vitamin D3 early in the morning? Okay. 900,000 cows. Can you imagine what the cow shed was like? Or maybe they don't have cow sheds. I don't know. But it's a big cow shed. Even if you have a couple of hundred cows in our farm in Juhu, we have about 200 or 250 cows. And the cow shed is big. It's not big enough though. We have to put an addition on it because more cows are coming. And just think about how many calves there must have been coming out of 900,000 cows. And Lord Krishna, he knew the name of each and every cow. He would call them by name when they were out in the forest. They would go to the forest and let the cows roam and, graze in the forest, right? But he knew each and every one of their names, and he would call them. Come, Samba, etc., etc., so many names he knew. So the measure of wealth has changed. Now it's about, properties and money and personal assets. So King Nriga, he must have also been considered a very wealthy king. And he was giving them charity every day to the Brahmins. Right? Cows, beautiful cows. It's described here brown with, milk. They were giving milk. That means they had one calf, right? They were milking cows, milch cows, as they say. And they were decorated with golden horns and silver-plated hooves. And he was giving them to the Brahmins. So many. There must be a lot of grains of sand in the world, and he was given that, and he had given it that, so many cows and charity. So this is a very pious activity. If you give cows in charity to the Brahmins, you accrue a lot of pious credits, right? And what can you do with those pious credits? Well, you can make it to the heavenly planet with pious credits. Heavenly planets. All the Christians, the Muslims, those who follow the Christian faith, they want to go to heaven. They want to make it to heaven. So you need to have pious activities to make it to heaven. So they do like that. They performed dig wells, open hospitals. These are all pious activities with which you can get credit and you can make it to Swargaloka. You see any problem with that? I see a problem with that. My problem with that is if you go to Swargaloka, you can stay there quite a long time. The lifetime of somebody in the heavenly planets, 6 months here is like 1 day for them. So you can do the math. If you live there for 100 years, and 1 day is like our 6 months, so how many years did they live there? I calculated once, it's something like 150,000 of our years. So what happens after their lifetime in the heavenly planets? They've enjoyed heavenly pleasures, nice weather all the time, and not a lot of disturbances from the Adibautik, Adidaivik, and Adhyatmic Kalesh. But it's not forever. After their pious activities have exhausted, they come back to this world, right? Now, right at this moment, we're 5,000 years into the Kali Yuga, 5,000 something years into the Kali Yuga. But how long is the Kali Yuga going to last? 400,000. So we're just getting started. So even if I go to the heavenly planets for 150,000 years, I'm going to come back here in this Mrityulok, 150,000 years into the total 400,000 years of Kali Yuga. Can you imagine what it's going to be like? Even now, we understand that due to the Kali Yuga, it's not a very favorable situation here. If you can just imagine 150,000 more years into Kali Yuga, how bad it's going to be. So going to the heavenly planets, at least at this point in time, is not really any kind of a deal. You may enjoy for a little. It's kind of like being dunked under the water and you're gasping for breath. And they let you up for a little while, and then they put you back down in the water. That's what going to the heavenly planets is like. So devotees, their destination is something different. They really aren't trying to get to the heavenly planets, nor are they even, so much worried about the spiritual world, because they're already fixed in their service to Krishna and they have pure devotion to Krishna. They're already in the spiritual world. Iha yasya hirer dasya karmana manasa gira. Their mind is fixed in Krishna. Their words are fixed in Krishna. Their activities are fixed in Krishna. They're with Krishna for all intents and purposes. They're already with Krishna. So wherever they're situated, they're okay. That's what Lord Shiva was trying to tell to Mother Parvati when she cursed King Chitraketu. They're Nayana Parayana. They're already situated with Narayan, with the Lord. So they're okay in whatever situation they're in. Whatever challenge comes in life, they say you should see that positively. But that's actually only possible for the devotees, because the devotees can see things that have come to them, like King Chitraketu did. He saw it as an opportunity, right? To get back to Godhead, to get back to Krishna quickly. But so what this chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, the deliverance of King Nriga, is trying to instruct us is that devotional service is something more than pious activities. It's undoubtedly pious to do devotional service, but it's more than that. Because by rendering devotional service, one is developing one's relationship with Krishna. Sambandha Gyan is what the spiritual master gives. He gives knowledge so that the disciple can understand and develop his relationship with Krishna. And once the relationship with Krishna is developed, that's the real fulfillment of the purpose of this human form of life. In performing pious activities, resulting in going to the heavenly planets, there's another problem with that, and that problem is exemplified in this particular pastime. And that is, they have to be performed in a very particular way. And if you make a mistake, it can be disastrous. In this instance, the king, unintentionally, without knowing, unknowingly, he gave the same cow to two Brahmins. And they were both adamant to have that cow. Right? So he was in a fix. Although he had given so many cows before, as explained, he made a mistake. And for that mistake, he got some reaction. And when he went before Yamaraj, they said, okay, what do you want to do? Get your impious reactions or your pious reactions? So he said, all right, I'll take the impious reaction. And he took birth as a lizard. So, better than performing pious activities. Pious activities can be a stepping stone, as Krishna mentions in the Bhagavad Gita. At least, work, do some work, do some pious works. But that's not the goal. That can give us some credits so that we can actually perform devotional service. Because the king was pious, he got he could desire to see Krishna. He had some in there with all the other things that he had in his heart. He also had a desire to see or be with Krishna. So the pious credits gave him that opportunity to have that, to magnify that desire, to make that desire grow. Because if you're impious, then it's very difficult. In Srimad Bhagavatam, it's explained that the message of Bhagavatam is so beautiful and so attractive that anyone would be attracted to it, except for the killers of animals and the killers of the soul. That means the meat eaters and the Mayavadi impersonalists. Right? The Mayavadi impersonalists, they want to kill the individuality by merging into the oneness of everything. And of course, the killers of animals, their situation is very deplorable. There's Srila Prabhupada cites about different persons that come to the saintly person for benediction. So the king's son comes and he gives them the benediction that you should live forever. Because the son of the king has a lot of money, a lot of enjoyment, right? But when he dies, he's going to suffer for his impious activities. So he gave him that you live forever. And the ascetic who's performing austerities and penances for the brahmachari, right? He gave him the benediction, you die immediately. Because he's performing all these austerities and penances, right? When he dies, he'll enjoy, right, the heavenly pleasures or, right, some better position. So you die immediately. And the butcher, right, the sadhu, the saintly person gave him the benediction, you don't live and don't die. Why? Because his life is also miserable. He's killing so many poor innocent animals. And when he dies, it is also miserable because he'll have to suffer for that sinful activity. So don't live and don't die. And for the devotee of the Lord, the benediction was, it doesn't matter if you live or die, right? Because it's the same. Serving Krishna in this life, dressing Krishna, feeding Krishna, performing so many services for Krishna in this life with devotion and love. And next life, the devotee continues the same thing. Right? So it doesn't matter. Now, so the conclusion of this is that rather than trying to focus on pious activities, this king, he should have focused on performing devotional activities, like King Ambarish Maharaj. Ambarish Maharaj his mind was fully fixed on the lotus feet of the Lord. Savai Mana Krishna Padara Vindayu. And his words were fixed on describing the glories of the Lord. The Lord's wonderful pastimes. His arms were used in cleaning the temple, and his legs in visiting to the temple. Previously there was some culture in India. There's still some culture, but it's fading fast But the kings had a culture. They would be concerned about worshiping the Lord and providing an opportunity for other people to come and worship the Lord. And I had this opportunity to meet the Maharaj of Travancore. The Maharaj of Travancore. You know who that is? Travancore? It's Kerala. Kerala. I met the king. Very nice man. He had met Jayapataka Swami. He was very favorable to ISKCON. And he gave me a book about the history of their family with photographs and things. Interesting. So their family traditionally is in charge of Padmanabha Mandir in Tiruvananthapuram, which they used to call Trivandrum, British. Now it's Tiruvananthapuram. So Padmanabha Swami is the deity there, and the family, the Maharajas of Travancore, traditionally that was the temple that they took care of. And underneath that deity, there are some rooms. They're locked up. And the government said, it's a communist government in Kerala. So they said, this should go to the government. And there should be an audit. So they opened up one room and they did the audit. And there was thousands and thousands of crores worth of gold, jewelry, diamonds, so much wealth. So much wealth. And that was only one room. But before they can open the other room, the family went to court to stop them. And something was decided, and finally it came to the Supreme Court. Yeah? So in the Supreme Court, it was decided that the government has no claim on the deity's paraphernalia. It belongs to the deity. Right? And belonging to the deity, the government can't usurp it. So the tradition in that family was and is, as far as I know, is that when they leave the temple, they brush the dust off their feet when they leave the temple. Because their mood is that from the temple, they won't even take dust. Everything there belongs to him, even the dust. So they brush the dust and leave it there. That's why today there's so much wealth still in the temple. So previously there was this culture. The kings had some affinity and, devotion towards the Lord, as Maharaj Ambarish did. And so this King Nriga, he was more involved in pious activities, made some mistake, but because he had some desire, he must have done something that led him to have the darshan of Krishna. And when he did finally have the darshan of Krishna, he became completely purified and firmly situated in the devotional service of the Lord. Hare Krishna. Yes?
Engaged in devotional service. And you also give the example of the king's son. He was blessed to live a long life, but devotee, either live or die, doesn't matter. And then you also quoted the verse, Yayasya Harirdashe Karmana Manashacha. And Nikhilasa Pyavastasu, Jivamukta Ucheta, something like that. So my question about this is, let's say if a devotee or a sadhaka is fixed in his service, but still he's not completely purified. What? Because you told that devotees are completely purified because they are fixed in devotional service. Let's say if they're not completely purified, but he's fixed. What is the destination, and will he get purified eventually, or what is going to happen to that person or devotee?
If a devotee is fixed in his service,
He's not purified.
but he still has some material desires,
Material desires. What is the
what's his fate?
What is fate? Yeah.
Well, instead of worrying about what his fate is, the devotee that has material desires should stay fixed in his devotional service and work on this, understanding those material desires, and do things so that he can become purified from those material desires. Even Lord Brahma, he was praying to the Lord when he was doing the creation, all these things. He said, "My dear Lord, don't let me get carried away with being the doer and purify me, purify my consciousness while I'm engaged in all these things by thinking of you." See, in the case of Maharaj Ambarish, he was busy doing a lot of different things, but he always kept his mind fixed at the lotus feet of the Lord. If we can practice keeping our minds fixed on Krishna, then these material desires will be diminished. One thing that Prabhupada said when he installed the deities in Krishna Balaram Mandir, I had the good fortune of being there, and on the morning walk, he mentioned that now you have Balaram. Always pray to Balaram. He can relieve you of your material desires. So while we're performing our devotional service, and we're fixed in that, and we should be steady, and we should do our devotional service with care and attention, at the same time, we should plead with the Lord to purify me, relieve me of all these material desires. And we have so many material desires. We're not even aware of all the material desires that we have. Matas Mritir Jnanam Apornam Cha. He gives us, he says, remember, you wanted to do this and you had this desire. Just slowly, he presents the different material desires that we have in our hearts. And we have to deal with it. Right? However, the devotee of the Lord is not alone in dealing with these things. He has knowledge from the spiritual master, and he has association with the other devotees. Right? And they'll help us. They'll help us to continue in our devotional service, regardless of whatever obstacles we meet. And certainly material desires are an obstacle. And then we kind of also need the mercy. Specifically, it's a matter of mercy. So the devotee is always looking how to get the mercy. Just like Prabhupada says, a businessman is always looking on how to make a profit. He sees everything as an opportunity to make some money. Right? So a devotee has a different mentality. The devotee's mentality is he's always looking how to get the mercy. How to get the mercy. He becomes greedy for the mercy. Right? And that greediness, that lolya for mercy of the Lord is what the successful devotee has.
Thank you so much. So, well, more or less, I was not concerned about faith, but thank you for explaining so nicely. So, my follow-up question is that devotee has to try. He doesn't have to depend on only on his service. He has to make his own attempt, right? Because what I was thinking that if you continue your service with a fixed steadiness, the service itself will try to remove your anarthas. It doesn't work like that, right?
No, even if you're unconsciously doing your service, it's still better than not doing your service. But even better than that is consciously doing your service with an effort to please the Lord and to get His mercy. So it's always beneficial. Even a person who, just walks in the door and sees the Lord, has no idea of what's going on, agyata sukriti, the person is definitely, making benefit there. And I think later on it's described in this particular uh, chapter how King Nariga, there was this very pious Brahmana who had a deity, a beautiful deity, and wanted to make a temple, and he kind of presented that to the king, and the king said, okay, well, I'll help you out with that, and that instilled in him a desire to see Krishna, right? So it was kind of consequential to his pious activities that he got this, agyata sukrita of seeing Krishna, and it actually happened. So doing your service should always be there, like chanting 16 rounds. That's nam seva. That's a service that we've been given. Now, better than not chanting at all is to chant inattentively, but better than chanting inattentively is to chant attentively with an idea of avoiding the offenses. So devotional service is always beneficial, but done with care and attention, it'll attract, it can attract the mercy of Krishna. But you never know how Krishna's mercy is going to work. He may just slap the mercy on somebody who's not very careful or not very attentive. But, Krishna is independent. He can work any way he wants, right? But we should not try to take advantage of that and think that, oh, Krishna will give me the mercy and I can just do any damn thing that I want. No, it doesn't work like that.
Just a small comment. Krishna slaps really badly.
Huh?
Krishna slaps really badly.
Can really wake us up. Any other questions?
Actually, thank you so much. I was just wondering about King Riga and how unintentionally he made a mistake, and because of that he still had to suffer. And I'm sure like this will come across, as a question perhaps across the whole chapter and probably in every discussion. But I was just wondering, what about devotees, or what about people who, like, is there any hope for people who actually commit offenses or
Well, certainly there's hope.
yeah.
There's hope, and we pray, like when you're worshiping the deity at the end of the day, there's a prayer to the Lord, please forgive me for any offense that I might have made, right? So certainly there's hope, but we should have that mood that, with the devotees, forgive me for my offenses. That's why every day, part of the program, we do Vanchakalpadrubhyascha Kripa Sindhubevacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo, together, so that we, aware that we, need to become free from our offenses. And if we have that consciousness, the Lord will certainly consider that. Durvasa, he was a little confused. He thought that, he knew the higher ups and he would get free from the fire of the Sudarshan chakra that was burning his back. He was going to go to Lord Brahma. He was going to go to Lord Shiva. And they couldn't help him. And he was such a powerful yogi that he even went to the spiritual world and met Lord Vishnu. But he couldn't help him. He said, better you go to Ambarish Maharaj because you offended him. Right? So it's not who you know, it's more about the mercy that you get. And we need the mercy of the Vaishnavas. We need mercy from the Holy Name. We need mercy from Kishore Kishori. And that way, hopefully, certainly, we'll come to the perfect stage.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thanks for your wonderful class. So, one practical application, Prabhu, for example, in the beginning of the session, we sincerely apologize. You got only two verses, right? There was no purport, and you wanted to go forward, if I have understood correctly. But we said, no, Prabhu, we only give a lot things. So, at one side, I see that I am not flexible. On the other side, I see you made yourself flexible. So, my question is, if I am attached to what I am doing, okay, though, now, for example, you are the guest here and you should feel happy what you want to speak. So, is that a right way of being attached to a service in my way only? Sometimes we see, oh, you do only my way because I am leading it. Is that a right thing or is it not a right thing? Can you please clarify, Prabhu?
Well, what I understood is that you've already allocated the verses to the speakers, and therefore they've maybe studied what they're going to say. So I certainly didn't want to disrupt that. But generally speaking, the management should consider that the Bhagavatam speaker, if there's no purport, then what is the basis of his class? What I understood in giving class so many years is that we should try to, as much as possible, stick to the purport and give points that are there in the purport in the class. If there's no purport, then where does the class go? It's my personal understanding of the thing. But as a guest, we don't want to disturb what's been set up and is working, right? And so therefore, um, yeah, try in the future you can try to give verses that have a purport so that the speaker has some basis of what he's. Otherwise, he can go anywhere, just all over the universe, and some speakers do, and
Thank you.
that's kind of not what Prabhupada normally did.
Sorry, what was that?
It's not what Prabhupada normally did when he gave a class. He kept it to the verse.
Thank you so much for bringing that point, Prabhu, and we sincerely apologize for the inconvenience, but thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
No need to apologize. Shubhakrit, it was your class today, so he was merciful. He let me have an opportunity to speak to all of you. Thank you for giving your class today. And it was a nice program yesterday, pre-Janmashtami. First time I ever saw a pre-Janmashtami, but it's okay. It's a good idea, I think, get people warmed up, And I think we might introduce that in Juhu, because Juhu is such a crowded affair, like so many thousands of people coming and going. The devotees kind of get lost in the shuffle, So if we have a pre-Janmashtami, we can invite just the devotees, and we can have some function for them, and they can enjoy better Krishna consciousness. So on Janmashtami day in Juhu, it's really it's like going to the Super Bowl or something. Thank you very much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Jai Gaur Premanande.